Welcome to WKRP Montrose, a radio station masquerading as a podcast about Montrose, Colorado and the Western Slope, recording live from the Clear Network studio in downtown Montrose, Colorado. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of WKRP. Rob is increasingly becoming frustrated with me every morning. I don't know what it is.
No, it's not increasing.
Yeah, it does feel like it's increasing.
No, I can't get more. I'm at the peak now.
No, I'm sure I can make it worse if I tried.
You do try.
Yeah.
But I tried to have this very stoic, zen-like attitude towards you these days.
You feel like you're stoic and zen?
Well, I have to try to be when it comes to you and your frustrating behavior.
I don't, there's nothing about your behavior that strikes me as stoic.
It's like dealing with an animal or a child. Like, just remember.
A large furry child.
That their brain hasn't fully developed yet.
I'm not sure if mine ever did.
And it won't now.
It's probably, I mean, we've talked, I've had head trauma.
Oh, yeah.
It's even difficult for me to say that.
That brain has been rattled around in that head a lot.
A lot. Yeah. That's probably true.
Even the hamster on the wheel is often just dizzy because of the way that your brain works.
I think he might be a little handicapped. He's probably got some broken legs. He's a little overweight.
So,
he's got problems
get back
up
on
there.
Get back on the wheel.
All right, we try to get him back on the wheel. So we've got a great guest today, and I will introduce her since I'm much more capable.
Her name's easy to
pronounce. Of doing that.
Yeah, go on.
It's not just because the name is easy.
Okay.
All right. Well, Heather Simpson of the Black Canyon Boys and Girls Club. Man, that was my words are not working well today.
You made that sound more difficult than it needed.
Than it should have been, right?
Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Welcome to WKRP. Thank you for being on the really nice couch.
Yes, thanks for having me.
What I like about this is when we often ask people, so, do you know what you're...
Do you know why you're here?
Why you're here, yeah. And then people like Heather say, no.
Here he goes.
No idea about anything.
Here he goes.
Nothing about the podcast. Never heard of you people before.
Right. Why? Somebody told me that I should go.
Presumably.
Yeah. How did you hear about?
Did I email you?
You emailed me
Okay.
and asked me to come.
Was your first thing like, who are you and why are you asking me to show up?
Nope. Actually, it was like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
See, Heather's much cooler, more stoic.
Brave.
And yeah.
Foolish,
and
maybe?
No, I was going to say more stoic and zen than you are. Much more.
I don't think you know what stoic means. Well, let's talk a little bit about Heather's position because you're new.
I am.
Are you new to Montrose?
No, I was born and raised here.
Okay.
My husband joined the military. It took us away for a while. And then we have a family and kids need to be around their cousins and grandparents and aging parents and all the things. We decided to return back to Montrose.
Okay. So you're one of the few people that we've had on that is actually kind of born and raised here. Out of the probably 50 maybe episodes we've done, there's a few. Maybe
3.
Maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, speaks to the demographics of Montrose, I think.
Yeah. I could almost name them.
Go on then. Can you name any of the others?
Well, Huff. Brittany, right? Brittany Huff.
Want to try that again? I'm so sorry, Brett.
What? Brett.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He's a fool.
I got it right, though. She was born and raised here.
Who else? Any others?
I can't remember her name, but the Montrose Witch.
That's right.
She was born and raised here.
No longer in business, actually. I think.
That's not good.
I think she's moved on to something.
And so now Heather. That's 3.
Yeah. I
went 3 for 3.
Yeah.
In baseball, I would be in the Hall of Fame.
You got her name wrong, but... well, let's talk about the Boys and Girls Club first. Let's give us a little overview for those people who don't know what the Boys and Girls Club is.
So Boys and Girls Club is an after-school / summer program that serves the youth of our community from ages 6 to 18. And we umbrella under the Boys and Girls Clubs of America office, if you will.
Yeah.
They provide us with some structure of what after-school learning looks like and summer loss learning to bridge that gap between end of school year and beginning of school year so that they don't go back completely forgetting everything that they ever learned. But then we just provide a nice, safe facility for kids to come hang out and have a cool summer and after school while their parents are working.
And that facility is fairly new to Boys and Girls Club because you guys just got a new building. Well, not a new building, but a new location, new to you guys. Mm-hmm. So it was the old San Juan
Yep.
movie theater.
Yep.
Did I get that right?
Yep, it is.
Okay. And so what's that like, being in that building, and what are some of the projects and things that you got going on for that?
Yeah. So when we purchased the building a couple of years ago, and again, this is before my time, I just started in January, but when we purchased the building a couple of years ago, we pulled out 2 of the theaters itself and turned those into a gymnasium. And then one of the cool features about us is we were able to keep one of the theaters intact. So we still have the projector, the movie screen, the seating, all the things. But right now our big projects are finishing the lobby, because we removed the drop ceiling. So finishing drywall and painting and all that. And then we also built what will be 3 separate classrooms to just have some more space to hold kids in and be able to run programs like art and STEM and music all at the same time, while also being in other areas of the building.
I actually got to go in the theater not long after it was bought by the Boys and Girls Club, while they were in the process of like ripping out the theater. So I'll have to come back. I'd be interested to see what it looks like now. But it's an ongoing project, though, it sounds like. Do you have a timeline on? But you still operate, right? Still,
we do.
You still functions like. Are you open like every day?
Yep. Oh, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
I have 85 kids there today, all excited. We're traveling the world this week, so they're in Australia today, learning all the things about that country. But yeah, you're welcome to come back. It has changed. It has changed a lot.
Yeah, that'll be really. I'd be curious to go and see.
You've got a long list of programs that are on the website, and so when you say that they're there, you've got 85 kids there today, and they're all learning about Australia. Are they all? Are the programs that you've got listed out on the site, are those at different times during the year, or during the summer, or is it like, how do you guys split that up for all the kids that are there in the different age groups and everything? Because they can be as young as 6 and as old as 18. Okay.
So the programs that are listed on our website, which should talk a lot about like athletics and that kind of stuff, those are just the buckets that our actual programs fall into.
Okay.
So right now, the way that it's split up right now is we've got like 6 to 8 year olds together. We have 8 to 9 year olds and we just have them very much with their peers and people their same age. And so like this morning, I've got some in the theater that are watching Finding Nemo, because we all know P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Wave Sydney.
There you go.
And so they're watching Finding Nemo, and then I have some in the gym that are doing various games and like races, almost a little bit of energy burning too, but just things that you would find, sports or stuff that's popular in Australia. There's an art activity in the lobby that's again, just building a craft or drawing a landmark that you would find in Australia. So we're just kind of talking to them, showing them on a map, where is Australia? Because maybe some of especially like our 6-year-olds, right? They're not going to be able to say, oh, it's right here next to Colorado.
What do you mean? I don't know.
He couldn't point out Australia on a map.
I could point out P. Sherman Wallaby Way.
Yeah.
Exactly where it is.
Right.
Okay. You've got a program that I wanted to ask about, and I want to see if we can get, Rob enrolled in it. I know that he's a little outside of the age group, but acts of random kindness.
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit?
So,
why? See,
Yep.
See, he needs a little bit of help in this area.
You need to be reined in.
Why?
I need to keep you on the ground.
No,
I'm
feel like
randomly kind when I feel like it.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So during our school year, we partnered with one of the elderly care nursing home facilities in town, and we would take a group of our kids to go. They created a bunch of different artworks and wrote them letters, because there are just people who don't have families that come visit while they're in the nursing home. And so we're trying to bridge that gap, not only by having just a younger generation and older generation learn from each other, but also just gets them out of the building, and it teaches them to be a little bit more selfless and to think about other people and how their acts have an impact on other people. And so that's a lot of what that is we, over Easter, they went and filled Easter eggs full of candies and hid them for the residents of the nursing home.
That's a great idea.
And then they worked together to help them find them. They tell stories, they read books. We haven't been back since our after school program because there's just been some transition there. But that was a lot of what that was based out of, was just teaching them about people beyond themselves.
So how do you get partnered up with other programs like the because you also did some stuff for the first responders in that program too. I think I was reading on the website, or nope,
That wouldn't have been in my time.
That wouldn't have been in your time. Okay,
no, we haven't.
Because you are new,
I'm brand new.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but how do you get paired up with different organizations in town if that might want to help or work out or volunteer or whatever else?
Yeah, we actually had the nursing home reached out to us and asked if there was a way we could partner our kids with them. It's just Joey, she was my clubhouse director. She was really big into looking for ways that a lot of the same work you're doing to help each nonprofit sort of work together a little bit more, or even just broaden our reach. And so through like Communities of Care Coalition and those kinds of things, they were able to link together, and then we were paired up with them. They just reached out and said, hey, we'd like to partner with you and the kids. So also, who doesn't love kids? So
Rob doesn't love kids.
Not 85 at a time.
Not 85 at a time. It's a lot.
Sure of that. How many staff do you have dealing with that many kids?
Yeah, currently I have, if they're not sick, I have 12 staff members.
Okay.
Helping.
That's a lot of people to manage.
It's a lot
Schedules,
of people to manage. People's
times,
and kids.
Yeah. Are they all part of the company? Or are they part of? Or
yep,
are they all paid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then do you have volunteers in addition to that?
I know historically there have been volunteers. We had people reach out during our after school program. We have much less kids during the after school program. So I struggled to find places where volunteers could come in and fit, which isn't that we're closed-minded to it. We need it. But the summer for sure, we welcome the opportunity for volunteers. The struggle with volunteers a little bit is they don't count in our ratios. And so I can have one adult to 20 children right now. And if I bring in like a parent volunteer, I still have to have one additional
adult
staff member to keep that in ratio. I can't use that other adult.
Right. Do you think how many kids do you serve generally? I mean, let's use 85, but that's not a lot compared to how many children we have in the community. Right. But do you feel like the numbers, do you have capacity for more, and do you want to encourage that? How do you reach out to the community to let them know that you're around? And
we've been trying to make sure that we're on social media quite a bit more. Trying to attend a lot of the other nonprofit. We were at the Bring on the Summer event, trying to just put ourselves out there in those ways. I have this week, my enrollment has dipped just a little bit. Last week we were consistently seeing 115 kids, and at that point I'm like, we can't bring any more people into this building. Right. I have 150 enrolled. They're registered, but not all of them are attending at the same time. But it's a great problem to have. Yeah. It's nice to be able to help, but there is also competing things that I understand, and I don't say competing in a bad way. I think the more that all of us as a community can support the youth in the community, we're all doing the same work. We're all trying to accomplish the same goal, and that's to keep kids safe and busy so that they're not causing trouble elsewhere. Do
you have goals in mind when it comes to certain segments of the community? Do you look at underprivileged kids and families and things like that? But you will take anybody?
We're a club for everybody. Right. We help with the accommodation of those that are underserved, but then also, kids that just need somewhere to go after school. We're open to those too. It really is a club for everybody.
What does it take to become a member for the Boys and Girls Club?
They just fill out a registration application.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of cost associated?
So our after school program, we do charge $100 a month. Okay. Again, we also follow the Colorado HUD standards, so the housing standards of annual income versus number of people in the household, and that's how we help determine those that are underserved and could need somewhere for their kids to go but can't necessarily afford it. Right. We provide just some assistance, some scholarship to help bridge that gap so they can still come and are not just left at home. But so the after school program costs $100 a month, and then our summer program is $100 a week.
Okay.
And there's a lot that goes on in that summer program.
There is a lot.
Because how long are they there for when they come for the summer? They're there most of the day?
All day, 7:45 to 5:15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you really got a lot of, no wonder there's a lot of programs. You got to come up with a lot of stuff for them to be able to do to fill that time.
Yep.
There are certain practical implications of a long day like that with 6-year-olds.
Yep.
Do they need to take a nap like Dennis does during the day?
I mean, I'm overdue.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they don't. We keep them busy enough. They go home tired. I'm not going to lie. They go home exhausted. My 9-year-old goes home exhausted.
Yeah.
We just try to keep them busy because once we allow space for them to become bored, they come up with their own fun. And that looks a lot like standing on tables. And so just we minimize them having to come up with their own fun and just try to keep them busy and have a good time.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are there issues with like emotional breakdowns? As we get, I need my nap. So if I don't have it, there's going to be a temper tantrum that comes along with it.
You said there are 12 staff members?
Yep.
So, I mean, it sounds like they need to be part teacher, part counselor, part diplomat, referee. Yeah, it sounds like a long day. But it sounds like quite a difficult task to have to be that engaged as well and switched on.
Yep, you have to wear a lot of hats during the day, and like I said, to be able to be the comfort if I had a little one roll over her finger with those scooters you sit on in gym class.
Yeah.
And so you have to be, the care provider at that moment, and then you have to be the referee because these two boys are arguing, and you have to, then we have to serve lunch, and so you've got to put on your chef's hat to serve lunch, and so there are a lot of hats to wear, and it's busy. It's by the end of the day you're tired. It is a long day.
So
a fun day.
How do you in the past? Well, I was going to ask how does Boys and Girls Club function financially? Because it feels like at $100 for a month, that wouldn't be able to cover the expense or the cost.
We have a federal grant that helps. That's helping primarily support our just increased security. We also do have some community grants, some foundation grants, those kinds of things that help with the finances. Membership and tuition, those things do help. We run fundraisers as well. We unfortunately did have to cancel our wine and food fundraiser that would have been at the end of May.
We'll come back to that.
Okay. But we do try to run the fundraisers too that help kind of supplement income throughout the year.
I guess that's, I would imagine a big part of your job is balancing the books, right? And applying for grants and fundraisers and all that stuff and trying to make sure that the organization keeps going.
Yep. I do also have just contracted people that help me with that because that is a lot for one person to manage. So we have grant writers, we have a bookkeeper, those kinds of people that help keep that squared away for me.
Do you get assistance in that respect with things like grant writers from the parent Boys and Girls Club as well, or do they just help with the structure of things?
They just help with the structure. They help with they told me yesterday, a federated operating
guide
model.
Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of the policies and stuff that are in place through Boys and Girls Clubs of America is stuff that the local CEOs have voted on and have voted in. And so they just kind of help make sure that the support is there where it's needed. I just went to an executive orientation at the headquarters in Atlanta and found out there's just a plethora of resources I didn't know was there, which is really comforting.
Yeah.
But they don't help us with the grant writing. We do have a State of Colorado Alliance that they help us apply for grants that benefit all of the Colorado Boys and Girls Clubs. Right. Mm-hmm. But locally, on a local level, we have grant writers.
How many are there in Colorado? Do you know off the top of your head? I mean, are they prevalent? Are we talking half a dozen or dozens?
I would say a dozen or so.
Okay,
there's a good handful of them.
Are there Is it typical for them to be in a community of our size though, like to have a Boys and Girls Club? Because in my past experience with it, it's always been in urban areas.
Sure.
You know, the Boys and Girls Club was prevalent.
Yep.
I didn't necessarily know that they were an opportunity in more rural areas.
Yep. So I know I can speak for the state of Colorado just because I've had engagement with the other CEOs. We do have quite a bit of rural clubs, which is helpful. From here to, I know there's not one in Gunnison. There's not one even as far as Grand Junction. I think the closest to us is like Durango and Alamosa. And then the other ones head towards Denver. And then there's more dispersed clubs in the Denver area.
So there's not one in Grand Junction, even though they're twice our size or 3 times our size.
Right.
Interesting. Just another reason we're better than Grand Junction.
You know.
I mean,
I didn't want to say it, but.
I mean, I did.
Yeah.
I've done it before. I'll do it again.
Let's talk briefly about the Montrose Food and Wine. Then we'll move on to talk. We want to hear about you as well, not just the organization. But so Montrose Food and Wine is the annual fundraiser or one of the annual fundraisers for the Boys and Girls Club, and it's been going quite a while. But this year, you, as the Boys and Girls Club, decided that you would postpone it.
Yep.
Tell us why.
Yeah. So when I started, so there was our leadership change for sure. And that contributed, I think, a lot to it because I didn't come in until the end of January.
Right.
And so those conversations realistically would have started probably in the December timeframe, November, maybe even. And so just as a collective, we didn't start the conversation, in my opinion, in enough time.
Right.
And so then when we did start the conversation, it was well into February. And then to try to pull off a massive fundraising event, our main goal was it felt better to cancel it or postpone it than to put on an event that wouldn't be well received within our community. And so we had gotten to a point about a month out where it just was like, we're spending, I think at this point, more money than we're going to potentially bring in. And again, I didn't want to send in a half-baked or put on a half-baked event for the sake of putting on an event.
Yeah.
And so it felt better to just postpone it and re-envision it and make sure that it's squared away next year.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can turn people off. If an event's not delivered properly, then they might not come back next year.
Right.
And like you said, you're going to be spending more money to put an event on that isn't going to have the desired impact. So, I think it's a good idea, actually. I mean, a lot of people don't. I think some people often will push through with bad ideas. But I think postponing it is probably a good idea because, you know, these things, it's a big event, right? It's being held previously at the county event center. Yeah. And there's a lot of moving parts with that event. I've been to it a few times and it's, it seems like a logistical nightmare. But.
And it ends up being almost 2 large events because the night before we have a sponsor dinner.
Right.
And so anybody that has bought a sponsorship or has bought into the sponsorship levels, there's a private event for that group the night before, and then there's the wine and food festival itself at the event center or at the amphitheater. And so it is almost 2 separate events to plan within a quick turnaround. And then this year it was the weekend before we started our summer session. So then it looked like we were going to have our dinner at the club. So it was going to look like get the club ready to have a sponsorship type dinner, then go to the park and put on an all day event at the park, and then come back and clean up both spaces so we can start our summer session that Monday. And it just felt like a lot crammed into 3 days.
Well, and you were still
brand new.
You were still getting into the swing of things, right? Into the role itself. Yeah. Sounds like there's a lot going on.
When you change leadership at an organization like this, what does that look like? Is it like, you know, when a new coach comes into like an NFL team, does everybody have to shift and move and I got to bring my own people in and that type of thing? Or is it just like, hey, there's a new person
I thought you were going to say a new sheriff in town.
I was going to say a new sheriff in town. I was about to say it. But then I thought Rob will definitely make fun of me if I say that.
You also might confuse people because we actually have a sheriff in Montrose County.
Well, that's true.
Outside here, like in other countries, that makes sense. Here, people might get confused and think there's been an election.
So he's just didn't get to partake in.
Exactly. What does it feel like to like come in and
Yeah.
Does it feel? Are you trying to make it not feel like everybody's starting over, or are you like, no, I want a clean slate and we're going to go a different direction? Or
you got your own ideas, I assume.
Yeah.
Right?
So it was a little. I mean, it was a little bit of like. So when you change leadership, it's tricky. I did have a lot of the staff that stuck around when our leadership changed. And so then, I had to come in and learn the old way of operating, but then also figure out my own way of operating. And so there has been a little bit of just figuring some of that stuff out, because I probably operate a lot different than the last CEO of the club did. And so there is a little bit of growing pains, not only on my end, but from the staff's end as well. Just, we have to figure each other out and figure out how to work well together, because we have a community to serve. Right.
And how do you feel now after, how long have you been there now in total?
6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's it going?
I can do math. I like turtles.
Well. Yeah, I like turtles. I think it's going well. Like I said, we've had a very positive reaction to our summer session, and had a lot of people sign up and enroll. We're still working through some of the kinks of starting a new summer program and transitioning out of school year to doubling, if not tripling, the amount of kids we were serving. So there's still a little bit of those growing pains that are happening, but we're getting there. It gets better. Yeah. I feel like we've had a positive response in the community, which is nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're still working.
What I'm going to talk about your background a little bit, and so we often ask people about how they ended up here, or where they went and when they came back, but. Have you been involved in the nonprofit world for a long time, or is this new to you?
So we moved back here from Kansas, and I spent 3 years with the Kansas State University Foundation. They're a nonprofit fundraising organization for Kansas State University. So I have spent 3 years in the nonprofit world, in my own little corner, because it was a much bigger organization, but still very new, I think, to the nonprofit world. All of my other positions have been corporate, for profit. Yeah. Yep.
I was just, with Dennis and I often joke that WKRP Montrose is a non-profit.
But not in the traditional sense of the word.
Yeah. We're not trying to make it non-profit.
Yeah. But we're not profiting from the situation.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about, you mentioned briefly earlier why you decided to come back. Yep. How did you end up in Kansas? How does anyone end up in Kansas?
Yeah, Kansas
was it on purpose?
A bad rap. It was. It was intentional. Okay. It was the military. When my husband was active duty, he didn't want to go to the Springs, but wanted to be close to home. And so Kansas was...
Wait.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go to Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Kansas was a better alternative.
Yeah.
It wasn't
and
flat,
if you were doing Kansas
enough.
State, was that Manhattan? Were you you're in the Manhattan area?
Yep.
It's not it's not the Manhattan that you would think it is.
You can insult the state of Kansas.
I'm just saying. It's
like
so
said,
Manhattan seemed more appealing than Colorado Springs to your husband.
Yeah, right.
Is that just because he was from the area? And he was like, I want to go somewhere I haven't been?
I think he just has, I don't know why, I can't explain it. He just doesn't love the
I need
Springs.
answers. We got to get him in here.
I know, we got to call him. Let's call him. I'm telling you, Kansas has a really bad rap. The people are the nicest people you have ever met.
That is very true.
It is a perfect, aside from here, it is the perfect community to raise a family in.
That was a good, I saw what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't mention anything about the visual surroundings, but just said
you can see for miles and miles, can't you? In Kansas?
Because there's nothing there.
There's nothing in the way.
My husband's joke is you can watch your dog run away for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good joke.
Kansas, but I'm telling you, it really does have a bad rap. Other than being extremely hot and extremely cold, it's the Manhattan area is so wonderful.
I'm gonna have to look up exactly where.
Manhattan, Kansas is?
Have to specify Kansas. Obviously, it'll take me. What do they call it? The Little Apple or something?
Yeah.
They do.
Actually, I will say Manhattan is a very nice, it's a cool great community. Yeah.
They're good people.
Not the most visually pleasing place in the world.
Sure.
And you did a good job of just calling out the extremes, because there's not a lot in the middle. It is either it's either hot or it's cold.
Mm-hmm. You have like a week where it's like, oh, this is decent. I want this. But then it goes to immediately hot or immediately cold. You don't get...
And there's pretty good food in Manhattan, Kansas. Not bad.
It's decent.
They also have something called Top of the World.
They do.
And what is that?
Well, it's not top of the world.
Right.
It's probably the highest point in the area, to be honest. A lot of people go up there to watch the storms roll through. So it's a tornado prevalent area, of course.
All right.
And so a lot of people go up there to watch the storms roll through because, again, those are very extreme.
It's a sizable place, though, right? With a zoo and museums and...
It's a small.
Hey, this
zoo,
isn't
yes.
KRP Manhattan.
Kansas.
Could be if they want one.
That's true.
We'll franchise it for you. So,
hey, wait! Before we even continue this conversation, we forgot an important part.
Thanks to our sponsor.
There you go.
There you go. Well, because you didn't do that.
Oh, so
now
it's prevalent. So off, on.
Yes, good job.
Off, on.
Always very grateful to Clear Networks for supporting the podcast.
Thank you so much.
It wouldn't be possible without them.
Yeah, without them, we would have interrupted.
It would just be two idiots in a room on their own.
No, people would still show up. Heather would still come talk to us.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
How rude of you.
Thank you, Clear Networks. We often have beer from Pomona too, but it's 11 a.m. today.
You're not supposed to tell people that. I don't know why. Okay, so back to you. Okay. Sorry for the break there.
So what happened to bring you from Manhattan back to Montrose? Is your husband?
Well, so I coerced him into, give me just a year. I just want to try a year in Kansas when he exited the military. And then
he was ready to leave.
He's been ready to leave since he got out of the Army.
Okay.
Wait, so he wanted to go there, and then he was like, this is a horrible decision. Let's leave. And you're like, no.
Math doesn't math. I get it. But
okay.
Yeah. So I was like, no, but I really love it here. And I did. We built a great community for ourselves there. We had wonderful friends. Great jobs. It was really great. And so I coerced him into just give me a year. Let's try it for a year. Because I'll be honest, I wasn't ready to return to Montrose.
Yeah.
And so then it turned into 11 years.
1 year turned into 11 years.
Yeah.
Okay, we're fast forwarding really quickly.
Yeah. So then again, just aging parents. My grandma had entered end of life care at that point, and so it was just time to come home. We have done it. We have been on our own with our kids for so long without. It's always just been him and I, and I don't say that as like a want kind of a thing, but. It's like we have got to have the community of people that can help us. I mean, I had to emergency ask my mom to pick up my kids because I had something come up with work.
Right.
And so to just have people in our back pocket that are here to support us and the kids, it was just time. It was he graduated college last year, and it was just like it's just time to go home.
Is your husband from Montrose?
He is.
Okay, so that makes. Sense of why you were both ready to come back.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to say 1 year turned into 11.
It did.
That's a lot.
It did. We just kind of settled into life, and it happened.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, 9, 10, 11 years ago, Montrose wasn't the same.
Right.
Coming back here, I've been here 9 years.
Yeah.
And it was different. Montrose it's still growing, but now it's a different place, and we have a lot more that I think than we had 9 years ago. So. I think your timing's pretty good.
And it was, I mean, we got married at 19 and we left. And it was just like, that is the best thing I can recommend to anybody is just, leave.
Yeah.
Just go somewhere else for a while.
No matter where you're from.
Right. And experience life because.
Even if you grow up in the actual Manhattan, go somewhere else. Go and experience life somewhere else for sure.
Leave your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Get out and experience something different than what you're used to. And because that's where you discover a lot of things about yourself and
really
about
fast. We went overseas for a little while, and so we had to grow up really fast.
Where were you overseas?
We went to Germany. He was stationed in Germany for a couple of years. That was his first.
What branch of the military did you serve in?
Army.
Thank you to him for your service. Thank you very much.
Long time.
That is a long time to be
away from home.
We've been away from home since 2011. We left, and like I said. Coming back now, I have such a bigger appreciation for Montrose and the Montrose community because as a kid that knows it all, right? A high schooler that's just like
that left thinking you knew it all, right?
Right?
Yeah.
It just
did you discover that you didn't?
Right, really fast. It was a very humbling experience, but it's also just like I can come home and I'm like, gosh, I never looked at the mountains going south of town and thought those are so pretty. It was always just like, okay, I'm headed toward Walmart, Target. But then to come home and it's like, holy cow, I never really, and that's what we're experiencing with my daughter right now is she grew up in Kansas. Right. Kansas is everything she knows. And so to have her come home and then be like, let's just go take a picnic in the mountains. She's like, I never even knew this existed.
What are mountains?
Right. It's so funny. I'm going to tell you the story and you're going to laugh and probably judge, which is fine.
No, Rob would never do that.
He won't.
I promise you.
When we were moving home, we always came through like Lyman down through Colorado Springs and then the Gunnison way to get to Montrose. And so we would get close to where like mountains become part of just the view, you're headed towards the mountains. And my husband's name is Ted. Ted and I would be like, oh my gosh, look, there they are. We're getting closer. We're almost home. It's so cool. And Emma's like, yeah, they're great, but look at that field. And we were just like, oh, no.
She's a Kansas girl.
She's a Kansas girl.
She appreciated the beauty of the waving grains.
She did.
Okay.
She really did. We were like, we have just failed. She
because it's drastic coming in from is it Lyman? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I guess you got to be from. I was going to call it Lemon or Lemon.
Lemon.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, but when you're coming, because you are coming from flat lands, and then boom, there's mountains out of nowhere.
What do you do here now with the family? That obviously there are things you couldn't have done in Kansas, but how do you enjoy the community that you're back in your hometown? But
we spend a lot of time paddleboarding. We spend a lot of time. We ride our side by side. We take it up to the mountains and just go find a trail and go ride. And that's the cool thing about this area is it's all public. In Kansas, everything is private. It's all private farmlands. It's obviously flat, but it's not. There's not as much like BLM there as you have here. So there's just an extra sense of like freedom to be able to just say, we're going to go down this trail and it may end in a private whatever, but you can ride for a while before you hit private land. So
that is something I think we take for granted, especially even just in Montrose, like the little things that we have that I don't think that people necessarily understand aren't as prevalent in other places like public parks. Yeah. Like we have a ton of public parks for such a small community. Yeah. And a lot of great places to go, like just hang out, have a picnic, go out and be outside with your family. Yeah.
And then when you go a little further, you've got the Forest Service and the BLM, you've got the Plateau, you've got all the Dominguez and Escalante Canyon stuff. And then you go a little bit further and you've got Grand Mesa, you've got, Telluride, Ouray. I mean, it's the San Juan Mountains themselves. We definitely, I think people underappreciate them in some respects, or don't fully appreciate that not everybody has access to this. I mean, it's one of the reasons I love it here, and I think a lot of us do.
And we always sit on the weekends and feel like we have no excuse to sit at home. Yeah. There's so many other things. There's camping, there's fishing, there's hiking, even just being outside, where in Kansas it was so extremely hot during the summer that it's like, I'm not going outside. There's no way. But then there just also wasn't like the hiking trails, and there wasn't, we noticed very differently. People are primarily outside here, where in Kansas that's not.
Right. It's not a thing when it's 98 degrees or 100 degrees and humidity.
110. Yeah. That's not a thing.
Yeah. And I mean, you can go up into the mountains and it gets cooler. Off. Yeah. So, interesting.
Well, so real quick, another question I wanted to have for the Boys and Girls Club, especially as coming in as new. Is there a program? Is there a thing that you aspire or wish that you have, or something new that you want to bring to the Boys and Girls Club that hasn't happened yet, or it maybe even it's just an aspiration or whatnot, but what's the next kind of thing that you would like to see happen with Boys and Girls Club?
I want a playground.
Oh,
I want a space, a safe space for the kids to play outside, because it's not lost on me that the kids have a lot of cabin fever right now, because we can take them out back behind our building, but there's still that easement that people try to use to bypass traffic. And there's a fence, but I want something that's like a safe, comfortable, I envision a play structure. I envision grass, picnic tables, shade, whatever that looks like, but just a space that we can send kids outside and give a little bit of fresh air and sunshine.
What does that look like for you in the program? Is that transportation from where you're at to be able to get the kids to that? Or does that look like you've already outgrown the facility and
I don't know that we've outgrown our facility. But I would like it out back. I would like to and I don't know what that looks like. That this is a big dream of mine, but sorry. I really just want, because I have a 13 passenger van once you stuff 2 adults in there, right? So that means I can either make loops and take 13 kids at a time to the park, or build a safe facility out back where we can just open a door and take them out back and then bring them back in when it gets too hot, or when we're done playing outside, or whatever that looks like.
Like you do with chickens, right? You just open the coop and let them out.
It's just like when you have chickens. It's exactly the same.
Right. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a dream.
That is.
That's, I mean, it's,
is there
cost a lot.
Is there an interim? Is there other programs that could help you, like, with transportation, so that you don't have to do like loops, and like, do you guys do day trips and things like that as well for you talk about it as you with your family. Does the Boys and Girls Club do those kind of day trips to go places? I'm just thinking like All Points, or like who could come in and help with some of this.
All Points is something that I think we need to explore a little bit more to be able to take more kids to more places. I'm kind of the bad guy right now in that I canceled a lot of our off-site visits because I just don't know that we can execute them safely.
Shame on you.
No, it's the smart thing to do. Being the bad guy isn't always the wrong thing to do.
Don't.
You're the bad guy.
He's trying to. No, I'm not the bad guy.
You just told her off.
I just said shame on you for knowing that you want your kids to be outside, but then you canceled the outside program.
You're the bad guy in this scenario.
I just don't feel we're in a space right now where removing 2 adults and only 13 kids from the rest of the group is a smart. Safety wise is a smart choice, right? Because now I have limited. There are, and I've limited the amount of adults in the building with still 70 kids. You know what I mean? So, so I just that plus wherever we're going to, right? I have to make sure, be at the pool, be at the park, wherever we're going, we can have enough adults to safely keep an eye on all of those kids. So, trying to work out those logistics. Has been a challenge, and right now it just feels like the better option. Yeah.
Okay, I take it back. The logistics are a nightmare. Like trying to keep everybody and keep track of everybody and do all that.
Criticize.
Yeah, it is. I forget how difficult it can be, but I also can feel for the kids. It's like no matter how cool the interior of the facility is,
they want to be outside.
They want to be outside to some extent as a kid.
We did partner with Friends of Youth and Nature earlier this year during the kids' winter break. So this still would have been the school year. And what they had that week. So Friends of Youth and Nature organized a trip to the Grand Mesa. And so we did ice fishing, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. The kids hated me for the cross-country skiing. It was a miserable experience.
It's labor.
It's hard. And we did all kinds of things up on Grand Mesa in the snow, and it was a fun day. But we ended up renting one of the buses from the bus barn.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so their organization covered the cost of that rental for sure. But without those opportunities, renting a bus itself is just not fiscally responsible.
Got it. Yeah.
And so that is, transportation is a limitation. But when you partner with a cool program like Foyen, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Is there, and not to, is there an All Points transit stop at your location? Mm-hmm. Okay, so at least there's some like convenience there for
families that wouldn't otherwise be able to get to us.
Yeah.
So, but there are things for you to. You got a lot to do, a lot of work.
Yeah.
How? Because you said you don't necessarily need volunteers, but how can the community support the Boys and Girls Club?
So I think, and I don't know the right way to ask this, right? I think
give us money.
Yes,
that's the way to ask.
I think feeling passionate about the work that we're doing, knowing that the money is spent on taking care of the kids and helping the facility and making sure they have the stuff that they need to complete the programs, things like markers, right? And so I think financially helping support the club is a great way for people to be involved right now.
Yeah. What about donating things? Do you need, like you said, you talk about markers, you talk about things. I mean, obviously it is better for you to just have people to make financial donations.
Right.
Is that the only way, the best way, or do you have a list of things that you need at any given time where people can perhaps go and, like an Amazon wish list type thing?
And that's a great idea. I know that
Thanks.
is what I know that's what a lot of the teachers do, especially like the start of, and that is helpful. Things like craft supply. When Joann's closed in town, they donated a lot of their crafting supplies to us.
Okay.
We are running into almost a need too of clothes that are outgrown, right? Things happen at club, be it just an accident or a craft malfunction or whatever that looks like, right? Yeah. Just clothes that I can have for kids that if something happens to their clothes, they have something to borrow.
Right.
And it is a lot of just the supplies.
Yeah. And of course,
that are helpful.
Attending events when you do have things like the Food and Wine Festival, showing up, and actually you can have a great time with those events and contribute to the Boys and Girls Club. That's a big win-win.
Yeah. I think for us, it looks too like what I've noticed just in my short time is that we need to brand those things a lot better. I had a lot of feedback too about, I had no idea that supported the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
And so branding it better too, so that I can then say, this is how we use the money that you gave to us.
Right.
And it doesn't always, it's not the sexy things like a big playground, right? Sometimes it really is cleaning supplies.
Yeah.
But all necessary to keep the kids healthy and
well, and I suppose there's a certain amount of, I guess it's accountability in some respects, that people know that their money, you can be specific about what money from an event was spent on and itemize it almost so people feel good knowing that money didn't just kind of go into a big pot and was diluted and
Right.
It sounds like it might be cool is you guys have a resource that not everybody has, which is a massive parking lot.
Right.
I've never seen, at least not in Montrose, I've never seen a community yard sale.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
And I was just thinking it would be kind of cool if not only your nonprofit, but other nonprofits could come. You could bring your yard sale stuff because then they could walk through and they could just grab the stuff that they want.
So Heather doesn't know this, but I do. Your garage is packed with stuff. And I'm assuming you just have stuff to offload, and this is all very self-serving.
I also know that I'm not the only one that has that. We did a community yard sale behind Alt Space.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago, went really great.
Just for you to get rid of stuff you don't.
No,
want.
we actually had the bike place that was there, the kids store that was there. They came out and actually brought some stuff to bring out there, and some of which they were basically giving away at that point in time. I'm just saying it's a way to utilize an asset that they have. Look at you!
That
just
also happens
you know
to
what?
serve something that you need.
If this had been his idea, it would have been the greatest idea ever.
I would never
in the world.
Such a self-serving
he would have
idea.
I'm just saying.
I do have some ideas about the Food and Wine Festival that we should talk about.
Yeah,
it feels logistic light, and it feels like you got to pop up some tents, give some tables, give people space.
And you get to clean out half your garage.
And the proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club. Anything that gets sold goes to the Boys and Girls Club. Anything that wants to get donated, they can come instead of you just dropping off stuff that they're not going to use.
Right.
They could walk through the yard sale and pick up the things that they need.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Could be great.
Could be amazing, Rob.
Could be.
Or you can just go to the Black Canyon Girls and Boys Club website, click on donut.
Boys and girls.
I said donut. Click on donate and donate.
Donut.
Yeah.
Is it that time? You
it is.
Hangry in a minute.
I'm a little bit. But I'm donut. Saying you can go and donate. And here's the thing.
It's like Homer Simpson over there. Oh, Lord.
There's one other point before we let you go because we do need to wrap up.
Yeah.
But what about food? Feeding kids, that can't be cheap. Is there any opportunities there, like that?
Yeah.
Other organizations or businesses in town might be able to help out.
So we do. Our summer program is partnered with the school district, so they bring lunch and an afternoon snack to the kids every day, and they provide us with a menu just like they would with during the school time. During the after school care, Food Bank of the Rockies provides some snack foods that we can offer as an after school snack. But shelf stable things are going to be kind of where our bread and butter will sit with any kind of food donations because we just have a standard size refrigerator. So, but the kids, things like fruit and vegetables, even those are a welcome commodity for the kids. So I wouldn't turn it away if a food donation showed up at my door.
Got it.
Good to know. Would you prefer it though if people called ahead perhaps or got in touch with you? Don't just show up with a bag of groceries, because as nice as that sounds, there's a practical concern about you're going to be busy at any given time, right? So, but people can go to the website and they can email you and call if they want to be involved in some capacity or if they have ideas.
Absolutely.
But good ideas, not like that self-serving yard sale thing.
I mean, it was a good idea. Is that all you got? Is that all you got to make fun of me? Is that the best that you can do?
Wrap it up.
Heather, thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate having you. Thanks for coming back home.
Yep.
We're glad to have you home. It's got to be better than Manhattan.
It is.
It's got to be.
1000%.
No offense, Manhattan.
Right.
We'll let it go. All right, everybody. It's been another episode of WKRP. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for joining us and being on the really nice couch. Rob.
Nope, we're done.
No. Do you have better ideas?
Yeah.
That's the way it works. That's what I was trying to tell you. All right. We'll talk to you soon.